Good morning, school. Good morning, school. It's Thirsty Thursday, school. Hello, hello. As we wake up together here, class is in session. Welcome to the School of Shred. This is the show that's designed to help you shred your old and make better your new. A better body, a better mindset, a better life. This is holistic health and fitness. Welcome back. As always, as you guys jump on, go ahead and comment where you guys are located and throw a flex emoji in the comments, please. Like to see some muscle early in the morning. Got my brother Michael's already flexing in the comments, getting a workout in, getting healthy. Shout out to anybody who's done at least one thing today already for their health and fitness and to better their health and fitness. Today we're going to talk about when the diet plane crashes. When the diet plane crashes. It can happen, and I'm going to share some stories with you guys. But yes, it's Thirsty Thursday, and I'm feeling a bit parched. I need something to drink. I'm thirsty. Are you thirsty? So, I do want to bring one thing up. So the very first class of the School of Shred is starting in September. So you can go to the schoolofshredpodcast.com, jump on the email list, and you can also email John at schoolofshredpodcast.com, and I'll also add a link to schedule a phone call in the description and the comments of these. So if you're interested in changing your life over the next 90 days and becoming a student of the School of Shred along with other classmates and to be part of a community and an association with other people, like-minded individuals just like you, with weekly assignments, video trainings, a full back office on johnreedfitness.com. Got some really cool stuff, an amazing virtual experience. We do weekly meetups together, live, video chats live. We share our assignments. I've created something really dynamic and really cool, and I'll share that with you if you schedule a call, and we'll do a consultation, and you can look at how to get into the School of Shred. So class 101 starts just here in a couple days, so we're about ready to roll. I take no more than 10 people per class, so per unit, and that's to keep the quality high, and so everybody gets a lot of value out of it, and everybody gets time to learn. So anyway, if you guys are interested in that, I will add in the comments the link to schedule a phone call with me, okay? And you can DM for any other questions that you have as well. Okay, so this is episode 53, baby, when the diet plane crashes. You guys want to hear a story? Okay. So I started dieting for a photo shoot when I was working back at the corporate gym. I had been lifting for, I believe it was about 4 years at that point. And that was when I really started pushing hard. Okay. And that was like to bring the cardio up, exercise, do whatever I got to do to get in shape. And I started to notice that, what this thing called hunger was. I thought I was hungry before, but you don't really know hunger until your body starts to fight back on a diet. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. You want to preserve your metabolic health, and if your body fights back, you will lose that battle. And so I found through dieting in the early years, what would happen is I would become food obsessive. I would get tired. I would lose motivation. And these are all signs of overtraining, under eating. It's just signs of altered hormone response. And so we're going to talk today about how to not crash the plane, how to keep the plane in the air, in the sky. And when you land the plane, you be good to go. So the first thing is we're going to talk about this thing in 2 stages here. Okay, 2 stages. Number 1 is going to be a burn stage where you're actually pushing the deficit. You're exercising more. You might be controlling calories and doing a hypocaloric diet. where you are expending more calories than you're taking in. But stage 2 is going to be a balance phase. So we have a burn phase and we have a balance phase. And we need to understand the burn phase is not going to be long term. It's feast famine cycles. That's what human beings are designed for. Okay. We're resilient. We want to be resilient. We want to have times where there's not a lot of food. It's good for cellular health and this thing called autophagy. That's why fasting can be good for us. But then it's also good to have times where we feed, okay, and we reset our hormone balance. And so there's 2 things that I want you guys to look at. We're going to talk about the relationship between NEAT and EA. So NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and then EA is exercise activity. And so what I noticed in the early years of dieting was that I could diet and then get my workouts in. I could caffeinate my way through the workout and get through it on sheer will and stimulants. And then what would happen is I would want to get home. I would want to come home and sit on the couch all day. Or if I was training clients, I'd want to like find excuses to sit, grab a Swiss ball and kneel, sit on the Swiss ball or kneel down. And I'm a big fan of trying to do as little of that as possible with a client, try to stay standing, engaging, match their body language, but I started to notice like this, very lethargic feeling as diets go on. You'll notice that, and that comes with the territory. And what I know now is that my body was trying to make up for the calories I was burning and not bringing in by lowering my NEAT, my non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And you may have felt this before if you've ever been on a diet, where maybe you get your workout in, so you pat yourself on the back, but then the rest of the day you want to maybe watch TV, you want to lay down. It takes a pep talk to get up and go to the bathroom. This stuff is a sign that you've pushed the deficit hard and your body's fighting back, and it's sending you a signal. And we want to ride that signal for a minute, but if we disregard that signal too long, it can become problematic. And so before I get into the next thing, I have to go grab my charger for my computer because I was at 46% and all of a sudden I'm at 11%. So I'm going to be right back. All right. We're back. All right. Lesson learned. Always have your computer plugged in like all other 52 episodes. Are you guys with me? Throw me a flex emoji if you're with me. Let's go, baby. Throw me a flex emoji. What's up? What's up, everybody? All right. So as we were, and so what you notice is that your body you'll start to want to, move less when you're not at the gym. And so this can be a bit of an issue over time. All right. And so it's been shown over and over that as you eat less, you will burn less calories, and your body makes up for this in a whole host of ways. And I think it's really interesting to look at this because I felt this before in my own experience where I'm dieting and I'm trying to get leaner, but then like you don't do as much yard work, or you don't there's just so many little things. You're not as motivated to go for a walk with the dogs. Maybe you want to start parking closer to the grocery store door. There's a lot of weird things that you can examine where your body's making up for the lack of calories and the altered hormonal response, trying to burn less calories by you're taking the easy road. And this is that non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So we want to look at that, and we also want to look at exercise activity. Typically exercise activity, just getting some resistance training in. I don't really like to have people worry about exercise activity calories. I think that cheapens what exercise really is and how powerful it is for joint health and overall body function, blood flow, and all that. But it does burn calories. And if you're on a diet too long, you're going to lose motivation to push hard in your workouts. As you eat more and you find a balance stage that we're going to talk about here, that balance stage is awesome because what happens is as you eat more, and if you eat the right foods and you try to manage insulin, so we're talking about calories and hormonal response here. what I notice when I do this is that I'm like ready to work out harder. I'm ready to go for several walks a day. I'm ready to go mow the yard. I'm ready to do just participate in life more. And if you figure out how to do these phases the right way, you're not going to gain excessive body fat. You're just taking a break, you're restoring your hormones, and then you can do another burn phase. But we got to realize this burn phase, the diet that you guys are on as you listen to this, if you're tracking or if you're under consuming, it's not forever. And people who get lean, I'm going to speak for myself. I stay lean all the time. It goes in cycles. And if you really want to maintain a lean, healthy body that helps you go produce more, your career, your relationships, create a better life, this is how you have to look at it. You're not always going to be in this deficit. You need to have these replenishment balance periods. So, and like I said, as you diet, your body burns less calories. So at a certain point in the diet, in the burn phase, your body's going to fight back. So you alter a lot of hormones in the body. And that's really what it comes down to, is as you eat less, in the beginning, you'll get this nice cortisol spike, this kind of stress response. And this also happens with fasting. You get kind of the stress response. It wakes you up. You get going. You can charge for a couple weeks. Usually I notice a couple weeks when I get on a burn phase. For a couple weeks, I can push super hard in my workouts, burn more that way, but then also take in less calories, and I can fast more and all that. But then what happens is that starts to slow. As your body starts to fight back, you have altered hunger hormones, like ghrelin's one of them. You also have some leptin stuff that starts to happen. Leptin levels start to drop, which is basically this fat release regulator. So it starts to go, hey, look, we don't want to be releasing fat. We're not getting, food now. Your body starts to figure it out, and your body is much smarter than you, than your conscious brain. So your body is going to try and preserve you. Our bodies are these intelligent, beautiful machines. And so I'm talking about how they're compensatory machines when it comes to exercise and loading and getting from point A to point B in movement, but it's the same way in diet as well. So your body is always trying to regulate and find this homeostatic point. And so if you want to move the homeostatic needle slowly over time, we need to do this thing in cycles. So if the goal is fat loss, right? This is always based off the goal. So let's land the plane when we feel those hunger hormones fall off. And so what are some signs that your plane might be going down? Let's look at some signs your plane might be going down. Low energy, low motivation, increased hunger and cravings. Those increased hunger and cravings can lead to uncontrollable urges to eat, binge eating, daydreaming about strawberries or whatever cheat meal you want over the weekend. One reason I'm not a big fan of cheat meals is because of the way that they crutch your mentality. If you're dieting really hard and you're already having cravings and whatnot, and you're getting into the deeper depths of a diet and you have one cheat meal a week, you start to daydream about that and build this thing up and put this pizza on a pedestal on Saturday night. And I think over time, I'm not saying it's having cheat meals is you should never do it. I don't think it should be scheduled. I think it just happens. I think I talked about that the other day. You go to grandma's house, she makes some blueberry pie or something. You just have the blueberry pie. It's not a big deal, man. You get to a point where you enjoy the food you eat on a consistent basis. You understand what stage you're in, if you're in a burn stage or a balance stage, and then you eat accordingly. And this is how we get to this long-term intuitive style eating, as opposed to counting every little morsel that's going in our body. So anyway, so you got increased hunger, cravings, irritability, and you can get moody. If you've ever been on a diet, if you're listening to this, you might be thinking, yeah, are you shaking your head right now? You might be like, yeah, I've had that happen before. We can get a little moody sometimes if we're on a diet too long. And that's not good, because that affects our relationships over time. So, we should be wrapping up a burn phase if we start to notice some of these things. And then mental health and depression. I mean, this is something that we don't like to talk about. People don't like to talk about, and it takes kind of some stones to talk about this, because I'm going to talk about mental health, because there is a certain percentage. When I see somebody who is overweight and out of shape, and I see that their skin is flushed, I can see that they're irritable. and they usually are. I had somebody flip me off on the freeway a few weeks back, and I felt empathy for them because I could see the result of just this cascading effect of being unhealthy. And it all goes together, you guys. Spiritual health, mental health, physical health, they are tied. All systems are connected. It's one of the 10 shred principles of the School of Shred. And so when we acknowledge that, then we can realize that, if we're dieting too hard, we become irritable, we have lack of motivation, we start to manifest that into a form of mental lack of motivation. Because what is motivation? Is it more of a mental thing or is it more of a physical thing? Motivation is more of a mental thing. So therefore, motivation could be a piece of mental health. And now motivation comes and goes. So it's not like when motivation goes, you're depressed. If you have good discipline and you have a good system in place, then, you can live a very fulfilled life. But I think it's really interesting to examine that if we push our bodies too hard and they're not happy on a physiological level, eventually it will manifest into the mental health side of the house. And it could lead to some depression stuff. And I know I felt this. When you feel lack of energy and lethargic, you get moody, you don't want to go to work, you're exercising too much, you're not happy because you're not at your goal. I mean, this all is stuff that gets you into a negative mental attitude, which is absolutely the cornerstone to a good life is a good mindset, a positive mental attitude. And so we want to protect our mindset. Okay, we got to protect our mindset. And I'm not talking about constantly being motivated. I'm talking about always being positive, always using your brain to think and manifest the life that you want. And if you lose that ability because you've grinded your gears too hard and you become irritable and sensitive and you're not controlling your mental state, this depression can creep in. And so something to be acknowledged on a hard diet. When the diet plane crashes, this could happen. And then the urge to sleep more. So there's a good amount of sleep that we all want, 7 to 9 hours, typically speaking, as our general rule. But if you want to sleep more, if you want to take more naps and such, then, your body might be like, hey man, my basal metabolic rate, like we just want to burn that base amount of calories right now because you've grinded us too hard. Then the last thing that you might notice is if you're working out a lot and you're dieting really hard is that you get joint inflammation and swelling. And pain. You get joint pain. I've noticed this. I always know when I'm getting to the end of a burn cycle where I need to replenish my body with some calories and some good food, because I start to get inflamed in the knees and the joints if I'm moving a lot, like doing a lot of steps or doing some cardio in there, or doing a lot of exercise. You get joint inflammation and soreness, even though you're eating reduced calories, usually from inflammatory type foods, and you're still getting some inflammation. Well, that could be because now your body's fighting back and you actually need to replenish it to reduce inflammation. So you're just getting a lack of nutrition. So depending on the goal, successful dieting for weight loss and muscle revealing, for those of you out there, if I got men and women out there listening to this right now, they're like, well, why does the fat loss matter? Well, it shows the hard-earned muscle that you've gained. So whether it's toned, big muscles, like those two things are tone. We could talk about language and how toned and hypertrophy and muscle growth, it's really all in the same thing. But if you want nice looking muscles, losing the fat and the weight loss side of the house, we want to look at these two stages of the burn stage, which could be this hypocaloric diet stage where you're pushing hard, maybe you're exercising more, maybe you're adding some extra cardio in, you're just more movement throughout the day. For instance, I have a shoot this weekend that I'm having done at my house, and yesterday I got 20,000 steps in. I usually get 10,000 a day, so I got 20,000 steps in, and or I'm doing 10,000 steps plus an hour of cardio on the bike during the day. So that's for 1 week. And this is part of a burn stage. Now I intend to, before I start to get all of these symptoms of low energy, low motivation, increased hunger, increased irritability, mental health and depression, getting really sleepy and having joint inflammation. Before that happens, I'm going to start to replenish my body with good fats, maintain insulin, continue to fast, but replenish my body and go into stage 2, which is a balance stage. Okay, so you have a burn and balance. That's kind of like a dieting outlook that you could see is like burn and balance. I'm going to burn for 4 to 8 weeks. That's an arbitrary number, but 4 to 8 weeks, and then I'm gonna balance for a couple weeks, and then I'm gonna go back in. And so typically your balance phase can be a little bit shorter than your burn phase, and depending on your goal and where you're at right now, you might have several of these guys where you're burning, and then you got to maintain for a second, so you balance, and then you burn again, and then you balance. And so you do that over the course of, say, 20, 30, 40 pounds. You got to land the plane, refuel it, refocus that plane, and then take off again and protect it. If you try to keep the plane in the air too long, you run out of gas, you're going to crash. Okay, and that's a great way to look at it. And so you have these 2 cycles. So the balance phase is like a refuel and refocus. All right. And so again, I'm not a fan of just throwing a bunch of calories and just going out and eating pizza and doing all that and you lose all discipline. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you start to replenish with more calories from good fats, which get less of an insulin response. Insulin is a storage hormone. Your body is going to be really sensitive to calories when you get on a caloric diet and you come out of a burn phase. Think about it. If you're exercising way more, you're burning more calories. If you're eating way less, now you've created a bigger deficit. A lot of times people just look at their diet and they go, oh, well, I'm eating less calories, but they don't take into account that they might be exercising 6 times a week as opposed to 3. And that's going to cause a huge difference, a huge gap in how many calories you're burning every day. And so we want to be looking at that. So when we go to refuel, we want to make sure that we're thinking about our hormones. We're not thinking about just calories in this binary thinking of, is it calories or is it hormones? It's both. And so as you go and replenish, what I like to do is a lot of fat. I mean, I just came out of one of these balance phases. I was eating spoonfuls of like coconut butter and as for like dessert at night, and just loading up on like steak and grass-fed butter and whole eggs and stuff that I know it's going to get me to balance my body and my hormones quicker than if I start eating a bunch of carbs like oatmeal and rice and all that. Those are not bad sources of carbohydrates, but what can happen is you can start to increase hunger hormones because of these carbs. You start spiking leptin and it starts telling you that you need to eat more of them. So it can be really tricky. So if you eat foods that are higher in fat and lower in carbs to replenish, if you try this out, you might notice that it actually shortens the gap of this balance phase because it's precisely what your body needs to refuel itself on a cellular level. So there is some carbohydrates that you need. If you're eating carbs, you're not doing keto and whatnot, it's okay to have some carbs, like a big bolus of them at night before bed helps relax the central nervous system, or after a workout, you have, your rice or your potatoes or whatever it is, but or some fruit. But what I'm saying is your go-to should be more fat, and to keep insulin levels stable and as low as possible. Not stable, but low, right? Because every time you eat, it's going to go up. Even if you're eating chicken breast, your insulin's going to go up a certain degree. And so if your body's really sensitive and it's really like suppressed, it's going to want to just go, hey, let's store. You got to be really, really careful with that. You do not want to rebound super hard because you're going to gain extra body fat really quick. You're going to maintain hunger hormones. They've showed this in studies where people will gain all the body fat that they just lost on a diet back very quickly, but then those hunger hormones can continue to be altered for up to a year. So if you diet really hard, basically what that says is, like, say within a couple weeks you gain the 10 pounds that you just lost off, you gain that 10 pounds back, but then say for like 6 to 12 months you're still hungry. I mean, that's really what happens when you crash this plane. So we got to be aware of that. That's why every diet fails, because people don't see it as a long-term lifestyle. We don't balance out this whole thing. We don't do a burn and then balance and do cycles of that. And I do that to stay around 176 pounds all the time, 176 to 180. It's like I just go back and forth on those cycles, depending on where I'm at. And so that's how you change your set point over time. I started off lifting. I was 158 pounds when I was 18. I got up to 185. I've been as high as 193, and I realized I was at my genetic ceiling for natural muscle. And I was just getting fat. I was getting a big spare tire around my stomach. This is a few years ago. And I just decided, okay, good. I think I'm there. And so now I'm going to start to maintain around this 180 and cut down. And so anyway, but I still do that, replenish, and then I burn, replenish, reburn, you just go back and forth on it. And so anyway, some really cool stuff to look at is like when you go to do that balance cycle, eat more fats, eat more protein, and still maybe, utilize some fasting. I'm a huge fan of fasting, so I utilize it all the time. The growth hormone increases you can get, this, it sensitizes you to calories. It keeps insulin low when you're fasting because you're literally not eating. And so insulin stays low as long as you're not really stressed and spiking blood glucose. And then it has to go to work to clear the sugar out of the blood, because we know that stress can increase blood glucose numbers in your bloodstream. So anyway, that's pretty much it. That's what I got for you guys on that one. That's, if you guys have any questions, ask them right now. We have some full participation. I love seeing it, Shred Nation. But if you guys have any questions, ask them. Ask me if there's anything on your heart right now or in your mind. If you're wondering anything, ask it in the comments here as we wrap up. These balance stages, though, again, what I want to say is these balance stages, they are what regenerate. They are what regenerate healthy hormone signals in our body, and we got to take care of our hormones, okay? And then they can stop binge eating. Now, I'm not saying if you have a food disorder, this is a cure for that. I'm not a professional in that. What I'm saying is that I've struggled with when you fall off the wagon, you fall off the wagon, okay? And that's what I consider binge eating, is like just eating till like you're just, I've eaten 2 jars of peanut butter in one day before because of this stuff. So I think I know this as well as anybody, just how hardcore the body fights back when it is not happy, okay? And so all this stuff I'm presenting to you guys is a combination of my own personal, self-experimentation, because I love this stuff. And I've changed my body over the last 10, 12 years. I've trained over 100 clients in person, those are real relationships in person. I'm not here saying I've trained thousands of people. I've actually sat in front of and helped people for several months, over 100. Okay, so that's a lot of case studies where I've tested this stuff as well. And that's also through 4 nationally recognized certifications and educational courses. So this is a mixture of all of that. And like one of my mentors says, if you think about grandma making a pie, right? She's not going by, like, she's got ingredients in there, but she's not, she's not even measuring things anymore. And when she's gone, you don't get that recipe anymore, right? Because grandma didn't write that recipe down because she was a master chef. That's what a good coach is. A good coach is somebody who's just dispensing you a pre-made packaged thing. And so I say all that because it's important to look at this stuff like from a real critical angle, because there's some certifications I have that say it's just calories that matter. And then, there's some other ones that say you got to optimize hormones. And it's like, well, what is the answer? The issue is we're too binary. It's too yes or no. It's one or the other. Things are not binary, you guys. Everything's a continuum. And so they're both important. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say like the burn cycle is good short term, and then you have the balance cycle, and you just keep going back and forth. So so this can help with the overeating, the excessive binge eating, the tired, lethargic, effects that come with dieting too long. The exercise fall off that can happen from being on a burn phase too long, and it recharges your overall energy levels so you can go out and execute your day and get better in every way. So that's what the balance cycle does. So if you guys are wondering about timeline, like, okay, how long of a timeline should I have for each of these cycles, a burn phase and a balance stage? You have to go by what your body's telling you, because I don't know what your program is. And so you have to get good at intuitively knowing these signals. So like what I listed, I'll list it one more time: low energy, low motivation, increased hunger and cravings, irritability and moodiness. If you start to get depressed, start to look at, well, am I doing anything from a physical perspective that might be the reason mentally I'm just bummed out right now? You can look at that. If it's like, no, okay, maybe that's something else. I'm not saying all mental health comes from, dieting, but it's something to look at. It's a piece of the pie. And then the urge to sleep more and joint inflammation and soreness, even though you're on a hypocaloric diet. Those things right there are you look at those. And so that could happen on your 4th week of a program. It could happen on your 3rd month of a program. It's time to do a balance phase at that point. A balance phase could be anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. That's kind of where I do mine, a week to 2 weeks. Then I feel like my hunger is stabilized. The difference is I try to utilize food quality during that time. I don't just go off the rails and start overeating on like anything that I want because I'm on a balance cycle. Notice how I'm not calling it a bulk cycle. I'm calling it a balance cycle, and we're thinking about hormones. We're thinking about overall health. We're not thinking about, hey, just go eat some food, man. Go to Chipotle and go get a bunch of burritos. It's not what I'm saying. The better your food quality, the less you rely on just carbohydrates, the quicker you could get back to your next burn cycle, which will ultimately get you to your goal and make you a happier, healthy individual. Because when you're in shape and your body functions and your hormones are good, your sex drive is up, you have energy, your life is way better, way better. Speaking from experience. So that's why, this stuff is important. So anyway, that's episode 53, you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. We got Q&A tomorrow, Q&A Friday. This episode was when the diet plane crashes, so don't crash your diet plane today. All right, I hope you guys learned something. I'm sure you did. Lots of value here. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. These shows will also be uploaded to iTunes and Spotify. Again, September Class 101 is starting in just a few days, and there's a few spots left. I do no more than 10 people per class. This is weekly meetups, in-person coaching, or not in-person, but live coaching from me online. We're doing live Zoom meetups in a classroom setting with assignments, all sorts of awesome stuff. Really the culmination of, about 8 years of thinking about how could I go online and create a coaching program and doing different trial and error and realizing that just the PDF thing wasn't really my style. I want to actually coach people. And so this is your opportunity right now. So I'm going to set up a link for you to set up a phone call with me, a free video chat phone call where we do a consultation. We can go over your goals, totally free of charge, and we can talk about how to enroll you into the School of Shred. So that's it for today, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. With that, I want you to stay strong and healthy in body, stay relentless and energized in your spirits, and stay determined in your pursuits, baby. That spells shred. Now go shred your day and get better in every way. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m.